Impeachment trial of Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is getting underway at this hour at the state capitol in Austin. Senators will eventually vote on 16 of 20 articles of impeachment against Mr. Paxton concerning alleged corruption and improper use of office. Joining me now is Julia Manchester, reporter from The Hill. Julia, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Nick. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you, too. Julia, you know I love you. I love when you come on the show. We get a chance just to talk about everything. But I want to talk about Ken Paxton because I think a lot of people at home may be asking, how serious are these charges and how did Republicans vote against him? How did these charges and this trial actually come about, Julia?
Yeah, so Nick, this has to do with Ken Paxton allegedly, brokering deals and helping out an Austin real estate developer. And then, of course, there's allegations that he improperly fired some former deputies who brought this attention to these issues to the attention of the FBI. So this is pretty serious. The FBI is investigating this. And just to give some context into this, he is the third Texas official to ever be impeached in the state's history, the last happening in 1917 and then again in 1975. And on top of that, he was also impeached by a Republican state legislature in Texas, a Republican majority state legislature. Ken Paxton is obviously a Republican as well. So it shows how Republicans really went against their own in this. And I think it just paints a picture of how serious this is for Ken Paxton going forward.
Julia, our own Stephanie Haynes has been reporting on this story, and she talked about how more than 100 witnesses may be set to be called for this trial. Now, the Texas State Senate will vote whether or not to convict on each of those charges, but one senator who won't be voting is Paxton's wife, Senator Angela Paxton. How could her presence even affect the trial?
Right. So there's allegations also of an extramarital affair in all of this. So it sort of avoids a potentially awkward situation with her, not voting and her having to listen to this and such, even though she will obviously be very, very aware of what's happening. But it's essentially been deemed a conflict of interest. She can't vote because she is his spouse. She's his wife. So that's been deemed inappropriate. So she won't really have, much of a role in this. She'll be kept away from that setting.
Julia, I want to switch gears just a bit and talk to you about some of the polling numbers that we got from Decision Desk HQ, our exclusive polling here. Julia, talk to us about this disappointment in the age of both of the top candidates for both parties.
Yeah, this isn't surprising to me at all. And I think the polling that we got from Decision Desk matches a lot of other polling we've seen from other outlets and other firms. And it shows that there's really, I think, an enthusiasm issue for President Biden and former President Trump. Now, former President Trump is just a few years younger than President Biden. But, oh my gosh, that 80% number for President Biden is not what he wants to be looking at right now, even though he is seen as very much the presumptive Democratic nominee of the party. I think, that's one thing for a primary. However, going into a general election, it does lead you to wonder whether there's going to be, discontent or a lack of enthusiasm for Joe Biden, but also for Donald Trump. And if there's a lack of enthusiasm and voters aren't turning out to vote for either of these candidates, that could work in the favor of a third-party candidate who could impact the election results, or it could just be the fact that voters aren't turning out in droves and we're not seeing the full effect of, what an election result would be.
And Julia, last question for you. I've got less than 30 seconds. How big of a problem is the amount of time before the election, or is this a help? Particularly since we're talking about age, we can't help but notice Mitch McConnell, and are people thinking the same incident could possibly happen with the president?
It's look, it's possible. We don't know, whether it will or not. We haven't seen similar incidences happen with the president, but there's a lot of questions about these older lawmakers and these older officials, whether it's President Biden, Mitch McConnell, Senator Dianne Feinstein. It's a bipartisan issue. So I think there is a concern, and there is a concern that, whether he would be able to even finish off a term or, successfully by the time he's done with 2 terms. I mean, he'd be in his mid to late 80s. Being president of the United States is a very physically, mentally, cognitively demanding job. And, I think for someone that old, that raises a lot of questions.
Julia Manchester from The Hill, thank you so much once again for breaking it all down for us.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.